Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It wouldn't be a China hearing on the CCP without the left invoking Trump, Trump, Trump. And I find their comments today quite ironic. And I do want to respond to some of the things that were said today. Most recently, to quote my colleague, leaders who put their own financial interests above all else. Well, Joe Biden and his family received over $8 million from communist China, by the way. So let's have an honest discussion about who's bought and paid for by China and who is not.
I think my colleague from South Carolina may have gotten confused about who said what, but these are things that Trump has said about Xi. Smart, brilliant, everything, perfect. We love each other. President Xi, who's a friend of mine, who's a very, very good man. There's nobody like that. The look, the brain, the whole thing. My feeling towards you is an incredibly warm one. This doesn't sound like someone that has any intentions of being hard on China, in my opinion. I want to go back to something else that you brought up, which is my amazing ranking member and the investigation that we were trying to do as it relates to emoluments. So I'm going to start off first with you, Captain. I know you're no longer serving as an intelligence officer on China, but I have a simple yes or no question. Given your experience, would you trust someone to go head-to-head against an enemy like the Chinese government if that person, whose duties include ensuring national and international security against the PRC, if that person has received millions of dollars in other financial benefits from the Chinese government?
That's a fantastic question. And the obvious answer is no, right?
I don't know who you're talking about, so I'd have to wait and see who you're mentioning.
Okay. I don't know that okay. Well, I'm going to say that I wouldn't trust that person. And it's the reason that I don't trust that Trump will protect this country. In fact, just this year, when asked whether the U.S. should defend Taiwan if it means going to war with China, Trump merely stated, well, I don't want to say, but remember, Taiwan did take all of our chips business. We used to make our own chips. Now they're made in Taiwan. Taiwan took our business away. It doesn't sound like he's too friendly on Taiwan. And I do want to say that while that may be the case, this administration and a democratically controlled House and Senate made sure that they did something smart on legislation. That legislation was led by my predecessor, the late, great Eddie Bernice Johnson, in the Science Committee. And the Chimps and Science Act is absolutely making sure that we're moving those jobs back. I know Samsung is doing lots of great things in Ohio, and we know that these plants are sprouting up everywhere to make sure that we can make chips here. But what I continue to see is that Trump seems to only care about his money. Democrats on this committee publicly released financial documents detailing how Trump received over $5.5 million from the Chinese government. Not only that, these records also showed how President Trump and his White House senior advisor daughter, Ivanka, received hundreds of trademarks by the PRC during that time. So I'm going to skip to this timeline because I want to make sure we cover this. ZTE is a China telecommunications company which has had extremely close ties to the Chinese government, including reports showing ZTE employees entering and exiting Chinese spy facilities. Unfortunately, what we saw when we look at this timeline is that in May of 2018, China approved Ivanka's trademarks for bath mats, textiles, and baby blankets. May 7th, 2018, China approved 5 additional trademarks. May 13th, 2018, President Trump's tweets, he's instructed the Commerce Department to reverse its decision to sanction ZTE. June 7, 2018, Ivanka's company gets 3 more provisional Chinese trademark approvals the same day the Trump administration officially announces an agreement to lift the sanctions on a 7-year...
Gentlelady's time's expired.
The amount of projection in the Republican Party is astounding.
And that's corruption. That's something has to be investigated. That's what you have to look. But I watched this crazy Anderson Cooper the other day during the debate. Apologize for having to ask the question to them. Apologize. If that were me...
He declared his innocence.
If that were my sons that took $168,000 from this very questionable company, an energy company, and they knew nothing about energy at all. He knew nothing about energy, and he has a bad record, bad track record, including getting thrown out of the Navy. And even the way he got in the Navy is interesting in his position. If that were Don Jr., if that were Eric Trump, who are very outstanding young men, it would be the biggest story of the century.
Chair now recognizes.
Mr. Chairman,
I have a motion. I would move pursuant to Clause 2K6 of Rule 11 that the committee issue a subpoena to Jared Kushner to compel testimony related to the $2 billion collected from Saudi Arabia after his service within the White House.
Second.
There's a motion, and for what purpose does the gentleman from Ohio seek recognition?
Move to table the motion.
There's a motion the motion to table is not debatable. As many as are in favor of tabling signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying no.
No.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
Donald Trump, when he was in office, took $7.8 million in foreign money when he was president and before. Does that give you pause or bother you at all?
No, because at this point he's a businessman. So he legitimately has businesses that he's running, and he could have been doing that from business to business. That's no different than what I do for my career. If a foreign person comes in and wants to buy a property, and they buy a property with foreign money.
You're not subject to the emoluments clause of the Constitution.
Right, but I'm saying is that he still runs a business. He's still a business owner.
But if $5.5 million of that was from China, and he's the president of the United States, should he not have divested?
You know, with what has happened with the Biden family, I would think that all eyes are going to be on anything and everything that happens now.
It was reported that Donald Trump took $7.8 million from foreign governments when he was president and before. Does that bother you at all?
For as far as I hear what he's done, normally he has a reason, but I don't know about that, I guess.
Well, you know, honestly, I don't believe that. I don't believe those numbers because when Trump was in office, you know, he wasn't accepting his paycheck per se that he would receive. You know, that was going back into the country. So I don't believe he would be taking that much money from other countries if he's willing to give up the money that he would be receiving.
They're digging for things. I mean, why isn't Biden indicted?
Well, his son was.
Well, yeah, but he should be too. So
for what?
For his dealings with China and other places. I mean,
Yesterday it was reported in the Wall Street Journal that Donald Trump took $5.5 million from China when he, when he was in presidency and the Wall Street Journal
places. Half of the places that report that stuff are just making crap up.
Well, it's hard to, I mean, when you have sources and you have evidence, it's hard to say that because it's like FOIA stuff and they get the information. It was $7.8 million total from foreign governments while he was president, before he was president. None of it necessarily nefarious. I mean, it wasn't like it was under the table or anything, but it would have been a violation of the emoluments clause of the Constitution. Does that...
Biden hasn't taken any money from other places?
Not that I've seen, and perhaps. Well, no, perhaps he did. I don't know.
Yeah, Trump's probably done some terrible things, but Biden. It's so bizarre to hear people on the right assuming that baselessly accusing Joe Biden of undefined crimes is some sort of awesome gotcha rather than the transparent projection that we all know that it is. If Biden has committed real crimes, the left probably wants to know about it more than the right does. But MAGA's total insistence on loyalty to Trump means that all evidence is irrelevant no matter how well sourced. He can say he wants to be a dictator, he can say he doesn't know about Project 2025, even though it's very obviously it's been written explicitly with him in mind, and the project is filled with people from his administration, and it's right now being boosted by the same right-wing pundits that support him. Ignore all of that. They know that Donald Trump is a vessel for policy decisions that would have been unthinkable before his presidency. He doesn't have to believe or understand these things to provide a real opening for different aspects of the right to get what they want. What, in some cases, they've wanted for a very long time. As one example, Trump is very obviously the opposite of what used to be considered like a good Christian, okay? He doesn't read the Bible. He clearly doesn't believe any of this. He doesn't even know the Lord's Prayer, but he presents a unique opportunity to impose Christian nationalism on America. And there are endless examples. Watch our other videos. But in short, not only is the right ignoring the contradictions of their leader, but they're also willing to tear up the Constitution to impose their supposed moral beliefs. The ethical shift isn't something that will simply go away, even if Biden and the Dems miraculously win the 2024 election. The rules simply aren't the same as before, and Dems have to start getting creative if they want to have any chance of protecting America's democracy. Thanks for watching our video. Did you know that you can support our show by becoming a subscriber? Just click the subscribe button and also ring the bell so that you get notifications when we're live or when we post new content.